right, what's up? We live with my new setup that I'm loving, having a good time with. Today, I'm just gonna chill, man. We just gonna have fun, man. I've already shared with you guys today what kind of investments we got into. So I'm kind of locked in with my stocks, for the day or for the next 30 days, I should say. So I'm not really, that interested in looking for more entries because I don't want to spend the money. Sorry, guys. Hold on. Fixing my camera. Yeah, that should look straight. That looks straight, right? I think so. All right. But yeah, I don't day trade. You know what I mean? I try to make it work. 30 days, man. Every 30 days. But sometimes, if I see the stock market's doing great, I'll look and I gotta collect profits, man. I gotta realize those gains and get right back in. So that's what I did today. It is June 4th, and we've already closed $1,200 in positions, and we reopened 30 DTEs or 30 days out. So hopefully, we can crack 5K at least for this month. Last month we did great, but I think we're gonna continue doing that. All right, let me share this in my Discord. All right. Shit, I just realized we have a stream going on 6FB, so I don't want to share this right now. I'll share this link in about an hour. All right, let's check out some dope shit tonight, man. What's going on in the world? Let's see. Amazon's Quantum Lab. What does that even mean?
This is where we do all of our R&D. So you can see all of these fridges. These fridges are required to remove all of the...
What the hell happened to my screen? Hold on, y'all. What the hell? What the hell is going on here? Oh, there you go. My bad, y'all.
Environmental noise that corrupt the way that quantum computers work.
Yet another major player has emerged in the quantum race, Amazon. It is the latest tech giant to make waves with the announcement of its own quantum chip in February, the company's answer to growing competition in the space from familiar rivals in the cloud computing business. Google, Microsoft, and others are now competing in a new tech arena and sprinting after what they say could be the next frontier. CNBC got an exclusive look inside Amazon's AWS Center for Quantum Computing, located at the California Institute of Technology in Pasadena, California.
All of this is electronics that's used to send specialized control signals down into the fridge. If you look here, you can see this cabling. This comes down into the fridge, and then your processor sits at the bottom here.
Amazon is widely known as an e-commerce giant, but the business took a pivotal and profitable turn in 2006 with the launch of Amazon Web Services. AWS is now a $100 billion business, and it is a key part of why the company is now worth over $2 trillion. And Amazon sees quantum as the next major growth area for its cloud services.
Which is crazy because, my guy Martin Shkreli, I think he's shorted. He's down like $1 million right now. He's shorted the hell out of quantum stocks. He believes in the technology, but he believes that's 30 years out. And a lot of the CEOs kind of echo the same thing. So that's what intrigued me about this. There's quantum stocks that are booming, like D-Wave, I think it is, IonQ. There's quite a few, and they're doing good. They're doing good, but they don't have any revenues. Like D-Wave makes no money. It made like $10,000 last month. You know, like what the hell? But that's what intrigued me about checking this out, because Amazon, Google, and Microsoft apparently are in the race for quantum computing, but they got the craziest budget, bro. They got all the money in the world, and like the likeliness of them actually figuring it out is high. You know, I'd rather just kind of stick with the Amazons, the Microsofts, and the Googles to win this, right? Where people are trying to get these, hopefully land on these Palantirs and stuff. And honestly, like, you might be able to put $1,000 in to D-Wave now, and that should turn into $100,000 in 10 years, right? But yeah, that's not my type of investing.
One of the primary advantages that a company like AWS has is that they know how to put these sort of classical control systems together. They know how to build data centers. And then the piece we need to solve is, you know, how does that quantum processor fit together?
Compared to other big players, Amazon is late to the game. Microsoft has been working in quantum for...
I don't, Dave. You know, we've talked about this before. I can't lead the horse to drink the water. I got to lead by example. And if you're in my life, you're gonna either be, you know, inspired by that, motivated by, or you're just gonna have a source to run your own race. And I'm just there when you're ready. So if you got questions and you're moving slower than I am, everybody can't be like you. Everybody can't be like me. Everybody's got to run their own race. You just got to be available to them when they're done walking, when they're ready to jog and sprint. You're there for them. You know what I mean? That's the way I look at it.
Nearly 2 decades, while Google has been in the space since 2012.
If we look at kind of the quantum race over the past several years, as Amazon has been like surprisingly missing in that conversation around quantum. And over the past couple years.
What's up, San Antonio? Yeah, I remember you, man. Definitely great energy, bro.
They've increased their investment.
Amazon had been looking at this for a while,
Sorry,
and then finally decided to get involved. There's a strong business case for AWS or Amazon to get involved with quantum computing. Quantum computing is very much in line with that sort of business model where you would have off-premise quantum computing resources that can be made accessible through the cloud.
Not only will it be initially start out as a standalone, more high-performance part of their cloud services, but eventually all of the cloud will be run on some form of quantum.
Quantum computing holds a lot of promise. It has already been shown to solve calculations within seconds that would take millions of years on even the most cutting-edge current machines.
While classical computers operate serially, in the sense that they do one thing at a time, these quantum properties allow quantum computers to operate effectively simultaneously, so to explore many possibilities at once.
The quantum space has seen a flurry of excitement recently, with investor interest soaring and pouring into publicly traded stocks. Those names have added billions in value in the past year.
Over the past 6 months, this theory is starting to get into actual tests that are showing that we can shift from a science project into the beginnings of an engineering phase. And that's really exciting.
Part of the hype is the perceived payoff down the line. McKinsey projects quantum could be a $173 billion market by 2040.
Today, there is about a $500 million market. We think that that's a number that could increase by a factor of 5 or even 10, depending on how companies are able to develop error correction at scale. So that would get you to about $2.5 to $5 billion in market size by the end of the decade.
Quantum computer can solve really hard math problems. Materials design, chemistry is another area which is naturally maps onto a quantum computer and what it does well. There's optimization, logistics, things that Amazon would really care about.
What it means for Amazon specifically is that the opportunity to build just a supercharged part of AWS that can crack incredibly difficult problems, whether it's related to drug discovery or on cybersecurity, these incredible difficult problems, that is an opportunity for them to charge a lot more for.
But we are still years away from a functioning quantum computer, with estimates varying wildly. NVIDIA CEO Jensen Huang has said useful quantum computers could still be 15 to 30 years away, while Google says commercial quantum applications are only 5 years away. IBM thinks by 2033.
I would imagine that over the next 5 years, we might start to see demonstrations using this for materials design or for chemistry problems. And then I think within, let's say, a decade, that would be the most aggressive timeline. I think we might have really fault-tolerant quantum computers that can do many of the problems we're hoping to do.
A challenge in quantum is that these are hard to scale. These computers are incredibly sensitive to interference in their environments. This can be anything from vibrations, heat, radiation, or even the Earth's magnetic field.
This big shield here is made of a special metal that the magnetic field gets attracted into and isolates the quantum processor at the bottom of this fridge.
But the main limitation to quantum computers is errors. Researchers' primary focus has been on detecting and then trying to correct for those.
These computers are too error prone. If you can solve the errors within these quantum computers, then you really can make it a practical technology. And we're entering that era now. That's why you're hearing a lot about all of these breakthroughs across the industry. And so that's super exciting. It's a major paradigm shift, but now you've got to make that error correction work even more efficiently.
You have to encode the information that it processes in a highly redundant way so that when the errors occur, they don't damage the information that you're trying to protect and process.
The error rates are still at a point where they're not commercially viable, but we will see this leapfrogging, and I expect that of those 4 companies that are working towards this, probably 2 or 3 of the 4 will ultimately have an error rate within the next, call it 5 years, that is more palatable for commercial applications.
Amazon's first foray into quantum was through the Amazon Bracket service, which gave developers access to quantum computers from other companies such as IonQ and Rigetti Computing. But after mostly watching from the sidelines, Amazon decided to start investing in its own technology. In 2019, Amazon officially got into the race and partnered with Caltech to create the AWS Center for Quantum Computing.
They decided to locate their Center for Quantum Computing here on the Caltech campus, where we have a thriving community of people who are working on quantum science, and they knew their people would benefit from being part of that.
Listen, this is a whole nother language to me. I know quantum computing is supposed to be a really big deal. So for that reason, I'm just going to tell y'all about why quantum computing even matters. All right. So, you know, if you've been through the rabbit hole with me, I've been live streaming and going through the whole semiconductor, silicone wafers, and, you know, just the way chips and computing is done, and the fact that it's pretty much humans making rocks and sand think. That's what all this computing and these semiconductors, that's what AI is. AI is only possible because we found out as humans how to make rocks and sand think. And so they're continuously, you know, trying to get more out of these elements, these materials like silicone, and push the boundaries to do even greater things we never imagined would be possible, things that would just 50 years ago be considered a miracle, be considered magic. It's incredible. And so quantum computer takes things to a whole nother level. You know, like NVIDIA is taking things to a whole nother level. NVIDIA is a big reason why we have AI today and the robotics, and it's getting serious. Like AI is starting to have sentiment, it's starting to understand physics, it's starting to, you know, these robots are dancing and stuff now, something they couldn't do in the past. And their brains are pretty much rocks thinking, you know. But quantum computer is supposed to revolutionize chemistry and materials science. Okay. So classical computers can't simulate molecules with more than 50 atoms due to exponential complexity. Yeah. Quantum computers can simulate entire molecules and chemical reactions at the quantum level. So imagine being able to simulate these things without actually having to like create it, in person so the impact of that is we can discover new drugs in days, not years. Like quantum computer is going to increase the life expectancy of humans. It's going to allow us to create fertilizers that don't destroy ecosystems, design super efficient batteries like solid state quantum materials. Imagine my Tesla Cybertruck can drive for 5,000 miles. It's going to be able to invent materials we've never seen before. Room temperature superconductors, graphene-like Man, you going to tell me God ain't real? This is crazy. It's going to have the most incredible encryptions. It's going to rebuild cybersecurity. Now, the only problem with that is that old systems become vulnerable. Banking, military, blockchain. Quantum computer can solve that. That's crazy. And the rise of post-quantum cryptography, which is a whole nother language to me. It's a race to build quantum secure systems already. There's already a race to build quantum secure systems. There's already, people are already working on that. You're going to be able to supercharge optimization problems. So quantum computers can solve optimization problems by evaluating millions of potential solutions at once using quantum superprecision. Okay. So imagine Palantir is going to have all of this data when we have quantum computing. Palantir might be a whole nother level now, because the impact of that is you'll be able to optimize supply chains, Amazon, Walmart, shipping, air traffic, and logistics systems get exponentially more efficient. And if it gets more efficient, hopefully that'll save us some money, but it'll make companies more profitable as well. Portfolio optimization in finance. For the big dogs, not for the little guys. We ain't gonna be able to afford that technology for a while. No, but that would be great. Optimize my portfolio, man. If you think about it, it could solve. We might never have a recession again. May never have a pandemic again. That's how crazy this technology could be. Accelerating AI and machine learning. Quantum computers might not replace GPUs, but they could solve parts of training faster, create hybrid quantum classical AI systems, train models that are too complex or computationally expensive today, and enable new forms of AI not possible with classical logic. Wow. Feelings? Robot gonna fall in love with you. That's happening in 2040, 2050. They said 15 to 30 years from now. My kids will be around for this. It's crazy. I might not be, but God willing, I will. I want to see it. Modeling the universe. Quantum computers are the only tools that could potentially simulate quantum gravity, black holes, or the fabric of space-time. Help uncover unified physical theories or simulate early universe physics. The impact of that is fundamental breakthroughs in physics. It opens the doors to space travel and energy generation. This shit gonna solve it's gonna cure the ecosystem on Earth. We're not even gonna have to get energy from oil no more, from carbon, whatever the hell it is. We just gonna be able to get it from outer space somehow. Grab energy from the sun. Like directly. I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. But it's insane. It's just a new frontier is what they say, where AI is a new frontier. Quantum's on the back end of that, 30 years out, 20 years out, 15 years out. We'll see how quick it gets, but all in all, it's too early to invest in that. And if you want exposure in that, you can get it with just Google already. With Apple, I'm sure. Was it Apple? No, I know Amazon. They said Amazon, Microsoft, and Google. Let's actually search for it. All right. IBM is working on quantum computing, Google, Microsoft, Amazon, and Intel. And then right now, the publicly traded quantum companies is IonQ, Rigetti, D-Wave, Quantum Computing, Inc. It's crazy. All right. Now, I got to see what's going on. Y'all see all the drama with Elon? He already had mentioned he didn't like the deficit that Trump was about to put in this bill. It hasn't passed the Senate yet. It's passed the House. But Trump and some other Republicans, they don't want this thing to pass. They say it's too much debt. It's not what they were supporting. And then, Elon and Trump they seem good, Dudes in the office going ham on reporters on the New York Post and going in. Trump is laughing in the background, and then they part ways. But apparently, Musk went in, was not. He said he couldn't keep it any longer. Let's just watch it.
But it is now clear that he is so unhappy with Republicans' mega bill to advance the president's agenda. He is so unhappy that he wants to start over. Musk wrote this on his platform.
Damn, Jadrian, that's amazing, bro. I love this comment, man. He said, "Yo, Chris, you've been one of the biggest inspirations in my barbering career, and since these videos, I've increased my investment contribution from $80 a week to $280 a week." Bro, you put in over $1,000 a month into your investment account, bro. Congratulations, man. Congratulations, bro. There's people their whole life that don't do that, man. Good for you, bro. And I hope you're learning. Don't take a lot of risk right now. Be conservative. Dollar cost average. It's a bull market. You're going to make money. My son made 32% last year in the market. You know what I mean? So and he was just in indexes. He wasn't doing he doesn't know how to trade and stuff. I just put money into his Roth and then it just goes into the indexes. And then my daughter too, she made 17%. And the same thing, indexes. So, you don't have to get fancy. Just be a student, man, student of business, a student of just be present in society, present in the world, and you'll see opportunities and you'll do well, man, and live below your means and delay gratification for a bit. You're going to be in a great place, man. Congrats. You're putting a lot of bread in there. So just be careful with it. Congrats. All right, let's keep watching this.
Formerly known as Twitter this afternoon. Quote, "A new spending bill should be drafted that doesn't massively grow the deficit and increase the debt ceiling by $5 trillion.
Damn.
End quote. He followed that up with a much more straightforward message. Quote, "Kill the bill." This morning, the Nonpartisan Congressional Budget Office announced that the House bill would add $2.4 trillion to the debt over the next 10 years, the deficit, and that seems to be the source of Musk's frustration. In just the last day, Musk has called the Trump agenda bill massive, outrageous, pork-filled, disgusting, and an abomination. And all of these tweets clearly blindsided the Republicans who just spent months.
Bro, was that on the same day? That's all in the same 24 hours. This shit was really bothering him. He is not happy. I don't think I've ever tweeted or even posted about something so many times in a day.
Months working on a bill.
He really wants this bill to get canceled.
That barely passed the House.
Elon and I had a great conversation, about a half-hour-long talk on Monday this week. It was a very friendly, very fruitful conversation together. And he and I talked about the midterm elections. And he said, I'm going to help. And then yesterday, 24 hours later, he does a 180 and he comes out and opposes the bill. And it surprised me, frankly. And I don't take it personal. We don't take it personal. Policy differences are not personal. I think he's flat wrong.
Slightly flustered Speaker of the House right there. So Republicans
Was
are
he
surprised.
flustered?
You could see it really on his face to hear that Musk is not.
The man just said, I don't take it personal. There's nothing wrong with disagreeing with policy. It's just surprising to me. And this girl goes, he's flustered.
Not on board with this big, beautiful bill.
Damn.
They're probably not happy with his vow to fire anyone who votes for it in the next election. He does have an awful lot of money to put behind that particular threat. But here's a big question. Do the Senate Republicans, who are now the ones that are going to have to move this bill forward, do they actually care what Elon Musk thinks?
Entitled to his opinion. He's frustrated. I think he believes, in my judgment correctly, that we're quickly becoming debt slaves.
He certainly has the right and ability to say what he will about it.
I think people listen to what he has to say, as they should. He's a really
They're flustered. They're so angry.
smart guy.
I don't think it changed any views in the Republican Party in the Senate.
He looks at it a different way than we have to look at it, because, again, we're the ones that have to vote for it.
Like I said, I can't respond to platitudes. That's all I saw in a tweet that I had summarized to me.
Oh, hold on. What does that even mean? Platitudes.
So Speaker Johnson weighed in, Senate
Never mind.
Republicans giving their thoughts. So we were all eager to see, right? Weren't you, how Donald Trump might respond to Musk's tweets. So for most of today, the response from the president looked like this. Let's put it up. Here it is. So until this afternoon, the president hadn't said or posted anything about the man who called his big, beautiful bill a disgusting abomination. We'll show you in a second how that is usually not how he operates. But as we were getting ready for this show, President Trump did put something up. He posted a screen grab, so he didn't say it himself.
Shit.
He just posted the screen grab of the tweet that Musk sent last week when he left Doge. And of course, in that tweet, Elon Musk says he's leaving, and he thanks President Trump. I think this might be the definition of a subtweet, but I also might be too old to be using that phrase correctly. So we're going to check in with the panel on that in just a second. But let's start with CNN's.
But what? It was a subtweet. It was just positive. At first, I'm thinking, oh shit, is he calling him out for saying something different? He's just showing. I feel like he's just showing grace. Like, I get it, bro. Still love you, man. You were with us. You had the opportunity to reduce wasteful spending, and the Doge mission will only strengthen over time as it becomes a way of life throughout the government. It's almost like Trump is saying, bro, we're adding to the deficit in this bill, but that's because we want some policies to pass for the people. And you might disagree with me, right? But I do like when a politician doesn't want to tax Americans to death, especially when you know what it means. Like, politicians will dress up this attack on billionaires and then pass laws that actually don't affect billionaires as much as it affects the middle class and small business owners. And people will say, oh, he's going after LLCs. Yeah, do y'all realize like 90-something% of, I think it's like 95% of LLCs don't make $1 million a year? The majority of them don't make $250,000 a year. And these laws affect LLCs the most. And y'all realize most billionaires, they don't have personal income. They make their money through capital gains, through stock options, through deferred income. Like, there's all kinds of ways that and then they have the resources to just pretty much legally launder their money, pretty much, like take it overseas, start creating income overseas, moving to different countries where their main home is going to be, primary home is going to be. There's so many different ways, guys. That shit does not affect billionaires as much as it affects small business owners and the middle class. And I've seen it because I own an accounting firm. I see how these taxes affect people. So when a politician says, listen, our country was never about taxing the people. As a matter of fact, the reason why our country exists, the reason why we got independence was because we got tired of being taxed. We wanted to be able to vote accordingly to someone who's going to protect us. And he ran on minimizing taxes. Now, what I need to do is figure out what the hell are they spending the money on? Why is the deficit going up? That's what I really need to research, because I do understand that sometimes, and like I mentioned this in a separate video, Obama cut like $400 billion or whatever in social programs, but that's because he was working on Obamacare. He was working on reforming it. So he was getting rid of, cutting a whole bunch out of a program to introduce a new program that was supposed to be better, right? While still getting shit done. And so, when I was looking at the bill at first, I was thinking maybe he's cutting a whole bunch of programs, creating new ones that'll get shit done. But in the long term, sure, we're going to spend some money. Sure. But in the long term, it's going to be more efficient. Our GDP will grow. People will be taxed less because our GDP will grow. And through that, if you have a 3, 4, 5% annual GDP growth, which is crazy, all your problems are solved, because taxes will go up because the quality of people's lives go up, because productivity goes up, and that's a rising tide. So I get that vision, but it's risky. And I don't think Elon thinks that it's necessary to take that type of risk to make the change that he believes we can make. I believe Elon's trying to get rid of the debt more than he's trying to increase quality of life of Americans, where Trump obviously doesn't care about debt. How many times has he been bankrupt? I mean, he's cutting wasteful spending on things he doesn't want to spend money on, but I'm sure in that bill there's some wasteful spending that the Republicans want to do.
Phrase correctly. So we're going to check in with the panel on that in just a second. But let's start with CNN's Manu Raju, who is live for us on Capitol Hill. Manu, my big question here, do lawmakers care about what Elon Musk has to say here? Because obviously there was a period where they did. I mean, this isn't the first time Musk it wouldn't be the first time, I should say, that Musk has scrambled what was going on legislatively. There was a period some months ago where Mike Johnson was taking all sorts of incoming and they were going back and forth on text. But obviously Musk has been kind of shown the door, albeit graciously, but still shown the door by President Trump.
Was he?
Yeah, look, there's a lot of frustration among Republicans, particularly ones who supported this in the...
He wasn't shown the door by Trump. They literally did a whole thing for him leaving. It was I hate this shit, bro. Like, that's the thing. Like, where is the news channel that just is unbiased, is bipartisan? They're hard to find. AP News says they are, but when you look at their fact-checking vertical, that shit's definitely not unbiased. And that's a nonprofit. I think maybe the fact-checking is a different entity, but we knew he was stepping down at the end of May, right? Didn't he say that? And they were good. Everything was copacetic, and they said he's allowed to critique policies. Now, there was one politician that was talking that shit, talking about speaking in what do you say, parables or whatever. Nonetheless, though, like, he didn't get shown the door. Trump was literally about to get voted out from his board from Tesla. He was about to lose his job as the CEO of Tesla. Musk was. And it just so happened that he was already starting to step away before they actually went through with it. But that was a thing because Tesla was getting demolished in the stock market. Sales were down. Profits were down 50%. He had to focus on his business again. He definitely wasn't going to be doing. We knew he wasn't doing those forever.
House. Remember, at the time, Elon Musk was not raising those concerns about the deficit. That didn't really come out until yesterday, the comment from Elon Musk. So very much surprising, blindsiding Republican members who told me that they are frustrated with Elon Musk's handling of this and really putting them in a difficult spot. Now, the other question is, will it actually impact the vote counting in the Senate? And there's really not a clear indication that it really will. There had already been concerns that members had raised about a whole wide variety of issues. On one side, how deep of cuts to seek on Medicaid in particular. That's something that some folks on the right flank of the Senate GOP wanted deeper cuts because they are aligned themselves with Musk's concerns about the impact on the federal deficit.
And what's crazy is Democrats, they're like, yo, they're doing way too much cuts on Medicaid. So many people are going to lose their benefits, not benefits, but their social, their, you guys get what I'm saying. Their Medicaid. So many people are going to lose it. And then the Republicans are like, we need to cut more. And Trump's like, yo, we're good right here. I wanted to break down. So I've heard a lot of all the arguments for why this bill sucks. As far as the deficit, how it's going to add to the deficit. But I never really got justification from Trump's administration. So let's hear what data I could find or what information I could find here. So key justifications from the Trump administration. Because so Elon said that it's going to increase the deficit by $5 trillion. We know Elon exaggerates about numbers, even though he's brilliant and he's changed the world. That's just how he is. So usually whatever his estimates are, usually multiply by 2 or divide by 2, whichever way, right? So it's actually projected that 2.4 trillion will be added to the deficit in the next decade. Okay, so key justifications, though, from the Trump administration is economic growth offsets. The administration argues that extending and expanding the 2017 tax cuts will spur economic growth, thereby increasing tax revenues and offsetting the deficit impact. I knew that's what it was. That's the argument. Now, you might disagree with it. You might think it's unnecessary, but I don't think that, judging from just that, we got to look deeper. I don't think this is just about making his friends rich because he's doing a lot of shit that's pissing off his friends. For example, the farmer bill that he did. The Big Pharma gave Trump like $100 million, something like that. And dude literally just got excommunicated by them because that farmer bill, that executive order, insane. It's good. It's great. And I think that that's going to help with the Medicaid issues for a lot of people. So the economic growth offsets, I kind of knew that was kind of common sense, but people think it's unnecessary, including Musk. Spending reductions. So the bill includes significant spending cuts, particularly to programs like Medicaid and food assistance, which the administration claims will reduce government expenses by over $1.6 trillion. Tariff revenues. The administration projects that new tariffs will generate substantial revenue, estimated at $2.8 trillion over 10 years, which they argue will help reduce the deficit. However, these justifications have faced significant criticism. Deficit increase. The nonpartisan Congressional Budget Office estimates that the bill will increase the federal deficit by approximately, we knew that, $2.4 trillion the next decade. The CBO, healthcare coverage loss, also projects that the bill spending cuts could result in approximately 10 to 11 million people losing health insurance coverage. There's skepticism of growth projections. Many economists are skeptical that the projected economic growth will materialize to the extent needed to offset the deficit increases. I think it will, but it's not going to be all credit to Trump. It's going to be a lot because of this AI revolution. Equity concerns. Critics argue that the tax cuts disproportionately benefit higher income individuals and corporations, potentially exacerbating income inequality. So the conclusion is that while Trump administration justifies the bill through anticipated economic growth, spending cuts, and tariff revenues, independent analysis suggests that the bill would significantly increase the federal deficit and reduce healthcare coverage for millions. Now, there are people that disagree with, a lot of people that disagree with Musk because, and this is kind of the argument, y'all. So people really see America's GDP, like even Jamie Dimon has said, if we just don't do anything fancy and we keep things as they are, just from this new computing, this semiconductor AI revolution, we should see a 3% GDP growth for the next 5 years. Okay. This alone would solve our deficit issues, is what he said. Could be wrong. This is why I'm not scared of all this stuff, all this uncertainty, all these terror wars, all these trade things. It's not because Jamie Dimon said it, but it's because I've gone through the rabbit hole. I believe it. I believe I missed the internet age. I missed that wave. I missed Apple. I missed Microsoft. I got in a little bit of Tesla, but I missed most of Tesla, even when it was like, when it felt like this, right? I missed that. This feels like it's bigger. It's a bigger deal. So yeah, man. Interesting times. Interesting times. Oh, this I wanted to see too. Trump signs a bill to ban 12 countries.
Trump signed a series of proclamations behind closed doors that includes a sweeping travel ban on 12 countries with a partial restriction on 7 others that we just mentioned, reintroducing a controversial step that he took early in his first term with some differences.
Who do you think it is? He just went on tour with all these Middle Eastern countries that have, terrorist groups that we've been fighting for forever, right? And he's trying to create peace and go at it a whole different angle, which I really liked. Who are the 12 countries and the 7 with restrictions? I couldn't even guess.
This time tonight, what we are reading in this.
So ban travel from 12 countries. So those 12 countries cannot come here to the United States.
Proclamation is this takes effect at midnight, 5 days from now on June 9th, and it bans.
We out. We got to go see one of these countries before it's too late. No, I'm just kidding.
Travel to the United States from Afghanistan, Myanmar, Chad.
Okay,
right?
so they can't come here.
And it bans travel to the United States from Afghanistan, Myanmar, Chad, the Republic of the Congo, Equatorial Guinea, Eritrea, Haiti, Iran, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, and Yemen. This also comes as the president signed a proclamation suspending international visas for new students at Harvard as he is trying to block foreign students from enrolling at the university. My sources are here in the newsroom on this breaking news. CNN's Priscilla Alvarez, the New York Times' David Sanger, along with former federal prosecutor Shan Wu. Priscilla, let's start with you just in terms of the differences in the travel ban we saw in term 1 and what we're seeing now.
Well, there are quite a bit of similarities as well as some glaring differences, particularly with the inclusion of Afghanistan. But this is something that President Trump has been telegraphing since day one. It's also something that I'm told has been an ongoing discussion and deliberation within this administration. And they felt quite empowered because, as a reminder, in the first term, the Supreme Court eventually did essentially okay a version of the travel ban, saying that the administration had broad discretion. The president specifically had broad discretion when it comes to limiting the entry of certain non-citizens. Now, as far as the similarities, in that iteration that was eventually approved or okayed by the Supreme Court, Somalia, Yemen, Libya, Chad, Iran, those were in that iteration.
Yeah.
Afghanistan, it wasn't. Cuba and Venezuela, similarly, warrant that is going to matter moving forward, particularly in Republican politics and in Florida. But the basis of this has been for this administration, both the first term and now, the screening and the vetting, and that these countries do not provide sufficient screening and vetting. Therefore, they are limiting the entry. But this is certainly a blow to those non-citizens from those countries.
Yeah, and David, as I was reading through this earlier, essentially what the president is saying here is that he can take some of these countries off if he changes their mind or changes, the bar that they've set for the vetting, and he can also add other countries. And basically is arguing this came after a review by the Secretary of State, Marco Rubio.
This was done, I think, in a much more skillful way than they did with the original, the so-called Muslim ban at the time, because what he's arguing here is state failure makes it impossible for the United States to judge the backgrounds of people who have applied for visas. And what he doesn't do, of course, is lay out the standard that they must meet in order to get past that list. And, it's sort of we'll know it when we see it. And you've seen him do this a number of times in different ways, in different orders in recent times, where he's designing it to give himself the maximum discretion and making the argument to the courts that this is within the president's authority. This is sort of an executive branch decision.
Yeah. Shan, legally, how are you looking at this tonight?
I think if we go back to the original Trump 1 ban, as Priscilla was talking about, the Supreme Court gave the president the raw power to do this. The factual predicate here, I think, is really poor. I mean, he talks about the Boulder, Colorado suspect whose country is actually not on the banned list. He also has some kind of silly things, I think, which says, for example, some of the countries that face the bans or partial restrictions are people who have a higher percentage of people overstaying visas. I mean, how is a country supposed to screen for that? What's that got to do with anything? Individual people choose to overstay it. But
he's got a good point, but I think two things can be true, right? You can ban a country that has like a 60% rate of people overstaying until you figure out how to filter that, how to fix that. Maybe there's some type of collaboration between the two countries. You just got to talk to the country, see what's going on. But you're not just going to leave it open when you see an alarming number of people are coming over and all overstaying, right? So it's okay, that's what I always tell people, like, why can't you stop the bleeding for a little bit until you figure things out? Why does it have to stay chaotic? It's okay to just pause, gather ourselves, let's do something about it, right?
Are you saying that's more of a responsibility of the United States?
Absolutely. In fact, I would argue most of this is responsibility of the United States to take care of problems overstaying within the U.S. And if they have information that particular people may have ties to terrorist groups, I mean, that's, again, something they need to look at.
So why can't they just, if it's their responsibility, they should ban it until they can figure out how to fix it. All right, I'm done with this topic. AMD has, I don't want to just leave like that, but I just feel like, it's a problem. How it's solved, don't care. As long as it's I mean, I do care, obviously. We don't want to do anything that's immoral. There's a lot of things that I don't like our government is doing, but at the end of the day, this guy in the suit and tie, he's not doing anything. He's not doing anything about it. He's just talking about it. But we can all agree that if a country is sending tens of thousands of people over every year, and let's say it was 30,000 people, and 20,000 of those people never went back home, you're probably going to see what's going on. You're probably not going to keep letting thousands of people come in every single month if it's getting out of hand. You need to stop the when a pipe breaks in plumbing, you don't just keep letting it pour and figure out what's going on while the freaking thing keeps pouring water out, right? You need to close the damn drain, or close, not the drain, but you close the pipeline. And then we can solve it. Now, if you fix it a different way, go for it, but you're not doing the damn fixing. So as long as, the how doesn't matter as much as the what and why. That's all I gotta say about that. But one of the things that I've been wanting to take a look at is AMD, because I know AMD, it used to be up there with the Intel and AMD was up there with the NVIDIA, and NVIDIA has left them in their smokes. But I keep hearing AMD is undervalued. I just want to learn more of what AMD does. Now that I know more about AI, semiconductors, GPUs, CPUs, all that good stuff, where the future of our country, of society, of the freaking world is going, I want to see what part of that AMD plays. So let's check this out. This is the CEO speaking about their recent earnings a month ago, and that I missed.
Estimates driven by data center revenue up 57 year on year, also providing a pretty strong forecast for the current quarter revenue. Expecting $1.5 billion, though, in lost revenue through the end of the fiscal year as the U.S. limits the export of the company's AI chips. Joining us this morning in a CNBC exclusive is AMD CEO Lisa Su. Lisa, we were just talking about when's the last time you joined us when Cramer wasn't here. Our apologies, but it's great to have you.
It's wonderful to be here with you. Good morning, guys.
We mentioned this number that you put on the restriction effect. How do you get to the number, and how do you think that, what's the trajectory of that figure as we go forward?
Well, Carl, let me start with first, we reported a great first quarter. I think we saw strength in across all of our businesses. We saw strength in our client and gaming segments. We saw strength overall in our data center segment. And I think that just goes to, the foundation of our business, which is, really on high performance computing. Now, to your question, as it relates to some of the China export controls that came out earlier in April, I would say that, it is a headwind in our business. We said it was a $700 million reduction in revenue for the second quarter and $1.5 billion for the full year. But even within that backdrop, what we see is an environment which is very, very favorable to our product cycles and all of the great technology that we have coming out in 2025. So we still see the opportunity to grow strong double digits in 2025. And, that is really on the strength of the overall portfolio that we have.
Yeah, a lot of the bullish notes today take note of new chips, right, that will be debuting relatively soon, going to impact favorably the second half. And then this notion, Lisa, I'm not sure how comfortable you are addressing it, of Intel as a shared donor.
Well, let me take, both aspects of it. First, let's start with, what we're doing. We are really about, having, very strong product roadmaps out there. We've always said that for, all of the years that we've been talking. It's about having, a great product portfolio that really plays to what customers need right now. So we see excitement in our data center portfolio. Today, our EPYC processors, our server CPUs are, all over, every major cloud provider is using our server CPUs. We have tremendous opportunities and growth in the enterprise market, where you see many of the Forbes 2000 companies also selecting AMD. And I think that's because, we've shown them year over year that we continue to give them significant total cost of ownership to make it more efficient for them to get their job done. We're also very excited about the AI opportunity. I think, AI, I heard you guys talking about it as I was coming on. I absolutely believe we're still in the very early innings of AI when we think about the opportunity. And yes, there are some, puts and takes and bumps in the road, but overall, we're still at the place where, enterprises are just beginning to feel what AI can do for them. And then also the PC market is a market that has done extremely well for us, and is a place where, again, people are upgrading their PCs. They want to upgrade to the best technology that has, great performance as well as great efficiency. And, that's what we have in our roadmap.
Lisa, you can't get away from the questions about tariffs, I'm afraid. I know on the call there were quite a few, and I'm going to go there as well because it is a key part here. I mean, do you have any expectations as to whether there will be sectoral tariffs or what they might be? And I also would be interested to know whether you expect there was some pull forward in terms of demand as a result of fear of potential tariffs.
Sure, David. So, look, I think we're all watching the regulatory environment, very, very carefully. As it relates to sectoral tariffs, we're in active conversations with the administration as they're thinking about both the short-term as well as the long-term policy. The long-term policy arc is we want more U.S. manufacturing. We want more manufacturing here in the United States, and we are actively moving a bunch of our manufacturing here, but we realize it's going to take some time, and I think that's the balance that has to come in play with sectoral tariffs, and we'll have to see how that comes forward. Now, to your question about the strength in our business relative to tariff pull forwards, I believe that again, every customer and every industry is looking at this slightly differently. From our standpoint, our strength is actually very much focused on the strength of our product portfolio. I think the relative tariff impact was small, whereas the relative opportunity for us has been just end user demand for our products. But we're going to continue to watch this very carefully. And the beauty of the business, David, is I think we've learned to become very agile through all of the things that have happened in the semiconductor supply chain, and we're going to continue to watch all of these trends very carefully and make sure that we react.
I want to hear, what's their efforts look like getting into AI, because they're losing a lot of investors running to the NVIDIAs, to the to all these AI stocks, Palantirs. AMD, their financials look great. They have a moat in the gaming space, which is cool, because I think they're the chips that are used in both Xbox and PlayStation. But gaming isn't as exciting as AI is for the future. So where are they at where it stands there? They have some chips, you mentioned it, but still thinking about PC and gaming.
Act appropriately going forward.
Yeah, you mentioned being agile as well on the call and said you have a good overall inventory position. I guess my follow-up would be, what does it mean to be very agile? What does that actually mean?
It means we have a great balance sheet. It means that we have great customer relationships. I think we plan for success, so we make sure that we are planning for a market that is, robust to our products. But we will certainly adjust as needed if we see the macro weakening. Now, I have to say, for customer ordering patterns today, we're already, let's call it a month into the second quarter. The month of April was actually quite robust. So it gives us confidence that, people aren't making very short-term decisions right now. I think they're all wanting to ensure that we watch the environment, but recognize that, we've been through many of these types of situations before, and we're able to adjust the supply chains and our...
Okay. So that didn't really tell me much about the company. I can tell you this. The pros of this company are strong financial growth, significant year-over-year increases in revenue and net income, product diversification. It has some expansion into AI, though it could be better, but data centers and gaming consoles, it does really well there. Strategic alliances, it has partnerships with major tech firms and governments that bolster market presence, and we can mention some a little bit later. Positive analyst ratings, cool. There's a general consensus to buy. That's what I've been seeing. The cons are the competitive pressure, intense rivalry in industry giants like Intel and NVIDIA. Geopolitical risk, export restrictions to China impacting revenue. That's impacting everybody, though. Market volatility, tech sectors, yeah. AI segment concerns. Analysts question AMD's competitiveness in the AI chip market. Yeah, so, financially, it's good. We can, and while we're here, we might as well look at their financials. And I've already read a bunch of the stuff here about the company. Hold on, we said it's AMD. Okay, so let's look at the annual numbers. I'm going to zoom in some. Yeah, there you go. So revenues, look at that. Continuous growth year after year after year. It's been around since 86. You guys can see it's just, look at this crazy growth. Jeez, if our economy has not grown insanely. Imagine if you had AMD in 2005. It's been a shitty time, bro, for you. Damn, but it paid off, brother. This is why you don't want to buy too soon. You never buy a stock too soon. Like, who cares if you got AMD at 86? if it took 50 damn years to get a bag, right? And who knows if you would have held that long, because you probably would have sold right here, or you probably would have sold here. Anyways, EBITDA is great. Free cash flow, look at that, $2.4 billion. Net income, earnings per share, debt, very little debt. It's got more cash than debt. Valuation keeps crashing down. You can see it went from, in 2024 and this time last year, from a price to earnings of 246, golly, to 81. Lord. So the financials are amazing. Let's look at this quarterly, how to do last quarter. Q1, it is $7.44 billion, which was way better than Q1 of last year, like way better. But as of now, NVIDIA owns like 80% of the AI chip market. It's going to be really hard for AMD to even be a real player in that game. You have to really believe that gaming will continue to thrive. I mean, just with Grand Theft Auto alone, shit, AMD should be able to ride a little bit of that wave, right? Whenever that comes out, we're gonna have robotics before Grand Theft Auto. I'm gonna have a Tesla robot doing my laundry before GTA. Like, who would have thought? I'm just messing. Now, the outlook for AMD is that it's making significant strides in AI through product innovation, strategic acquisitions, and partnerships. That's what it's doing. It's using its free cash flow, and it's getting into debt because it's buying AI companies. It's buying them. I mean, that's the only way you're going to be able to leverage and not even catch up, but try to stay in the game. And so it just keeps making investments. But a lot of times you can't buy your way in, right? Like, so, you know, and when I look up AMD, the company, the CEO has been kind of quiet. There's not been a lot of interviews. That's the last interview that she did. I did want to watch this real quick.
If we take a step back and look at, sort of the whole idea of AI or artificial intelligence, I mean, it's actually been around for quite some time. But what's really happened over the last, I don't know, let's call it 15, 16 months or so, with the advent of, ChatGPT coming out and generative AI, I think what we've all understood is, there's a superpower here. I mean, AI is really, the most important technology that, we've seen over the last, I don't know, let's call it 50 years. And, when we look at the capability, it really has the capability to augment.
Bigger than the internet.
So many things. So, I mean, to your basic, point of, do we need to care and, how important it is, really an opportunity to really accelerate all aspects of our business and, frankly, of humanity as well.
That's what you
and
want
I
to hear
think of
from
it as advancing things like, research and healthcare and all of those, important aspects of our lives, as well as our businesses, as well as our, personal productivity, as well as, things like, content creation, and all of these things are opportunities for us to use this technology that is now, let's call it, bringing it much closer, to home, where everyone can really practice AI in their daily lives.
So what are we doing about it, AMD?
Are there use cases you've seen that maybe I haven't seen yet that have you excited? Anything you want to share with us?
Well, I'll tell you some of the things. First of all, there's so many. So hopefully everyone's experienced it in one shape or form. But perhaps the things that excite me the most are, opportunities to transform things like healthcare. I mean, I view this as, when we think about something like that, that's actually very personal. So I think if we take a step back and look at, sort of the whole idea of AI or artificial intelligence, I mean, it's actually been around for quite some time. But what's really really happened over the last, I don't know, let's call it 15, 16 months or so, with the advent of, ChatGPT coming out and generative AI. I think what we've all understood is, there's a superpower here. I mean, AI is really, the most important technology.
So we were watching that twice, like a dummy. Now, I don't want to watch all of this, but in this particular video, they're saying that the CEO wants to chip away at NVIDIA.
That just never stops.
Oh, of course. Of course. Absolutely. That's exactly what we're doing. I'm running like a different company every few years. Like the industry is changing that fast. The technology that we're building is changing that fast. It's a fantastic race, though, because each race is different. It's like a different movie, but it's a more exciting movie each time.
Today is a really big day.
Lisa Su, the CEO of Advanced Micro Devices, likes to be in the driver's seat. Born in Taiwan and raised in New York with a passion for electrical engineering and 3 degrees from MIT, Su worked at a couple of big-name chip makers before clinching a big victory, transforming AMD from a failing chip company into a formidable force in gaming, PCs, and the cloud. She's quick to remind us that her secret weapon is an obsession with the tech itself.
Coming to AMD.
Her no-nonsense approach probably helps too.
I've heard you don't take from anyone.
Who's told you that?
Seriously, I've heard you're tough as nails, and I'm sure you have to be.
Well, I like to win, if that's okay. I would tell people I was doing semiconductors, and they would say, what? Like, what's that? Like, you build chips? Like, what does that mean? People didn't even understand, like, where technology really fit in the grand scheme of things. Like, now, everybody knows. Like, everybody talks about chips.
Chips rule just about everything around us. It's one of the most ubiquitous and consequential technologies in the world. They power your smartphones, cars, planes, power grids, the internet.
I was thinking about this, bro. There was a time where only a few people knew about chips. And then there was a time where everybody kind of knew about chips, but nobody knew about chips. Nobody knew what the hell they were. So they didn't appreciate the technology that was in their radios and their TVs and their slow-ass computers and their flip phones. But if you knew the technology and you knew the potential, because the formula double in transistors every year, forever, that's going to compound into billions and billions of transistors, trillions of transistors in a chip. It's come true. It's the reality of it. So you saw this coming this entire time. This is why a lot of these guys in Silicon Valley and stuff, they're rich as shit because they knew about this stuff. And even now, I understand semiconductor chips better than 99% of people in America, just because I spent a few hours learning about it. And I could have lived my whole life not learned any of this and been totally fine. That's what makes this technology even crazier, you know? And I only got into it because I wanted to understand what investments I was getting into. So it's kind of crazy because it shows you we're still super early with the potential of not just the technology, what we're going to see in the future, because we understand how powerful this shit is, but also the investment opportunity in all these companies is still early. That's why you can't look at PE ratios, PEG ratios. That's the stuff that, Warren Buffett didn't want to adapt to, because he could still make money doing what he already does. And he did. Jadrian, you said, do you think AI and tech is the next revolution? Absolutely. It's the next everything. It's like, we can't believe there's companies that are worth $3 trillion, worth more than most countries are worth. We're going to see companies that are worth 10, 15 trillion dollars. Like, you see this chart, guys. You see this chart, right? You realize countries making this, businesses making this amount of money in 1985 was freaking unheard of. In a quarter, look at this, annually, $26 billion. They made $500 million in 1986. This was a huge company back then. It's just insane. And this one day is going to be up here. And AMD still isn't the biggest, nowhere near the biggest company in the world, right? It's worth $192 billion. Look at what Nvidia is worth. $3.46 trillion. At some point, look at this. Damn, I'm an idiot. I was buying this stock right here. I had a whole bunch of shares here, and I sold it here. I kid you not, guys. I probably had $10,000 worth of shares here. And that would have turned into, who the fuck knows what? Not life-changing money, but you got to have hundreds of thousands in a stock like this. But I timed it freaking amazingly. Anyways, think about it. At some point, this number is going to be up here. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. At some point, this number is going to be way up here. This valuation, the value of this company is going to be 15 trillion at some point. It's that level of change in the world. And when you have companies making that type of money, bro, as long as inflation stays at 2.5%, the whole world is going to, the whole country of the United States is going to be middle class or higher. At least quality of life will be. At the very minimum, the poorest person is going to have a better quality of life than the richest man in 1950. They're going to have not PlayStation 5s and iPhones. They're going to have robots and autonomous vehicles. It's crazy. What do I think about Grab? I've heard a lot. A lot of people have asked me about that one. I'm not sure. I haven't looked into it. Maybe that's for another time. But I'm gonna write it down on my list right now because you're the second person who has brought it up. Can you kind of tell me, like, briefly what it is? I kind of want to just look at like the bumps here.
As they're developing products. And in every one of those conversations, I learned something. And I learned something that I can then say, hey, maybe we should do this just a little bit differently. I come here for two reasons. I come when there are good things, because I want to be able to see some of the new technology myself. And then I come when there's a problem. And when there's a problem, I'm here to cheer them up.
To cheer them up, not to crack the whip?
No, because at the end of the day, these guys love
Oh, Grab is not an American company. I did look at that one.
I've done late nights. I've done weekends. I don't want to surprise them. It'd be too much of a surprise. I can't just pop in.
You might have a heart attack.
That's right. I'm going to show you some of our latest tech. This is a gaming chip. We're pretty sure when it launches, it will be the fastest gaming chip in the world.
What makes you think this is the fastest gaming chip in the world?
It has a special technology, which we call X3B, which puts memory really stacked on top of the processor. So it's phenomenal for gaming.
The fastest gaming chip in the world. Does it look like it? Who would know? She would.
We talked a lot about AI.
Yeah.
You need to at least.
This is what I wanted to see right here.
So let's take a look here.
Bring it on.
Yeah. So what we have here is our, these are our AI chips. This is MI300. Engineering sample, it says, and this is how it looks actually on the board.
Heavy. The weight of AI.
So this is currently in production. One of the things that we run is sort of a lot of the AI workloads, the stuff that's running on Microsoft Azure, GPT, GPT-4o, those things they're running on MI300 Meta's Llama.
Did I hear that you refer to these machines as your children?
They're all my kids, yes. So if you were to actually step into my library at home you would see chips galore.
All them damn
because
geniuses
every
in there.
time I launch a chip, like I save that as a souvenir. And there's no favorite. Although I have to say, this one has gone a long way. So
Shh, don't say it too loudly.
In this new race to deliver the best chips for AI, Sue is focused on catching up to NVIDIA. A niche
Here we go.
player that got its start in the 90s making chips for computer graphics and video games, NVIDIA realized early on that its GPUs could be pivotal for AI, and suddenly blew past its competitors when ChatGPT came on the scene. NVIDIA's chips are the hot commodity for Meta, Google, and Amazon, sending its stock through the roof and besting Apple as the most valuable company in the world.
Crazy.
NVIDIA is seen as the dominant force in AI right now, and AMD is widely considered the next best option. Is that good enough for you? Do you like being seen as the underdog?
I wouldn't call it a like or dislike. What I would say is, AMD has had a history of doing amazing things. And from that standpoint, we've always been in this place where we haven't necessarily had the same amount of people that other larger companies have, but we've certainly punched well above our weight in terms of technology capability, in terms of impact on the industry.
This is the most complex, highest performance computer.
People are kind of obsessed with the fact that you and Jensen are distant cousins. I know that you are competitors.
It's crazy.
Do you ever trade notes?
Well, first of all, Jensen is brilliant, so I fully admire him for that. We were really distant, so we didn't grow up together. We actually met at an industry event, so it wasn't until we were well into our careers.
So no family dinners, just to put the rumor to rest.
No family dinners, and it's an interesting coincidence.
So many of your customers are building their own chips. Hyperscalers like Apple and Meta and Google and Microsoft and Amazon. Is that a threat?
This is a huge market, Emily. There's more than enough chips for everybody to build. And the beauty of this is everyone's recognized that chips are so important. Yes, so it's natural that they're going to have their own capability.
Has the shakeup of a very established industry surprised even you?
It has a little bit, I have to say. When you think about this conversation about the resiliency of the world depending on semiconductor diversification, like those kinds of things, those are big things. They're beyond an industry. They're really sort of underpinning sort of the global economy, underpinning national security. It is something that for someone who's been in semiconductors for a long time, it's different.
This is a very complex business with trillions of moving parts. One wrong bet or manufacturing delay can cost billions and give competitors the chance to jump ahead. Just ask Intel.
It's just been a stunning fall from grace.
This company used to be the world's dominant chip maker.
Over the years, they have fallen away from being the leader. Their technology is not advanced.
We saw the worst share decline in about 40 years for the company.
Intel got rocked.
They gave a very grim growth forecast. They also made or announced plans to slash 15,000 jobs.
They've always been on the brink, and they always seem to find a way, but we've never seen anything like this.
Back in San Francisco, I wanted to get perspective on the changing dynamics of the chip industry from Bloomberg reporter Ian King, who knows the stakes better than anyone else.
Explain the pace of the chip industry. Does it feel like a race to you?
Go to most replayed right here.
Number one in each market, good number two, and then a number three where you're like, why are you bothering? At the moment, AMD is a solid number two and doing well. They have billions of dollars of revenue from this AI accelerator that they didn't have last year. So they're doing way better, but compared to the tens of billions of dollars that Jensen's bringing in at NVIDIA, they're a long way behind.
Let's talk a little bit about the geography. How did the chip industry become so concentrated in Taiwan?
The industry is concentrated in South Korea, in memory, in Taiwan with logic manufacturing. Intel used to sneer at them and say, outsourced manufacturing in semiconductors doesn't make sense. It's not practical. It'll never be as good as we are. Guess what? It's way better than they are right now. It's enabled NVIDIA, it's enabled AMD, and a host of other companies that could never compete with Intel to do more than compete to win because it's providing the best manufacturing in the world.
However, this has created a very geopolitically difficult situation.
Taiwan is at its closest point, about 100 miles away from the coast of mainland China. As you know, China regards Taiwan as a rogue province and part of its sovereign territory. That tension has existed. The US has been the guarantee of Taiwanese safety. With chips becoming more and more important geopolitically, and we've seen that tension arise, obviously there's concern that maybe China takes a strategic look at Taiwan in terms of taking hold of it.
Will silicon ever move back to Silicon Valley in a meaningful way? Like, will chip manufacturing come back to the U.S.?
I think we will see chip manufacturing back in the U.S. I think we should recognize, though, that the semiconductor world is global. Like, that ship has sailed.
Was moving manufacturing abroad a mistake?
In hindsight, I think we would have been happier if there was more manufacturing in the U.S.
American manufacturing, the backbone of our economy,
AMD
began to
said
get
that.
hollowed out. Companies moved jobs overseas. Today, we're down to producing only around 10% of the world's chips, despite leading the world in research and design of new chip technologies.
The U.S. government is considering capping exports of your chips and NVIDIA's to other countries. Is that the right call?
The technology that we're building is some of the most powerful chips in the world. And so we totally get that there's a national security element of it. We want there to be as open a market as possible while still taking into account, the national security interests. And it's a give and take.
Do you worry about the future of Taiwan?
We all worry about ensuring that there is resiliency in the supply chain. So put China and Taiwan aside. A few years ago, we had, a big storm in Texas, and things were out for a few days. That's geographic concentration that you want to make sure that there's resiliency for.
You were born in Taiwan, and I know you go back to your hometown often. What's your favorite thing to do when you're not visiting fabs?
I really do love Taiwan. And I was born in Tainan, so it's a small city in the southern part of Taiwan. Actually, I was just there not too long ago to visit family. And we have a big family. My dad had 9 siblings, and my mom had 6. So it was a big family. So there are lots and lots of cousins and aunts and uncles and all of that. And so, yeah, it's just fun to kind of be a part of that.
Everyone's curious about the habits of super successful leaders. What are your go-tos? What's in your daily routine?
Well, this morning I was up at 6:30 boxing, so that's in the daily routine. Need to have energy when you start a morning.
Heck yeah.
A day is either here in the office or it's on the road. But when I'm here in Austin, it's a good day.
When the pace is relentless and perfect execution is the only option, sometimes you need to take your foot off the gas and watch another team compete for some inspiration. Formula One is the most technologically advanced motorsport in the world, and AMD's chips give the Mercedes F1 team an edge in the competition. Sue is giving us a front row seat to the action because, well, she likes fast cars too.
We have a lot of Porsches in our family. That's our thing. One of the things is all of my cars have our product names on it. So I have a Ryzen, and I have an Epic, and I have a Radeon, and I have an Epic 2.
That's amazing.
Yes.
I heard there's an AMD color way.
There is a color palette. The Epic color is graphite blue metallic, and it's a gorgeous color.
And that's the color of your Porsche.
It is.
That's epic. When you look at a car, an F1 car, does it look like a computer on wheels to you?
It absolutely does. It's actually even more than that. I mean, the car itself is just one piece of the equation, right? What's so amazing about the entire Formula One technologies, it's the car, but then it's also just everything behind it that helps get the car ready.
I mean, it's filled with chips and sensors.
I love the fact that, Toto
They say cars have thousands of chips and sensors. All right, that's enough of AMD. Opportunity cost, man. I just don't, if you like gaming and stuff, I could see why you would invest in AMD. You know that company, you use the products. I don't use AMD products in anything besides my PlayStation 5, and I ain't really even that big on PlayStation. And I don't know that, GTA will change the game like that. People already got their consoles. People are buying consoles. I mean, more people will buy consoles because of GTA, don't get me wrong. But I don't know that it's going to move the needle like that. What do y'all think? Maybe. But still, NVIDIA's needle with AI is going to move more. And maybe it's not NVIDIA. Maybe it's ASML. Maybe it's ARM. Maybe it's TSMC. Maybe it's Palantir, Microsoft, Google, Apple. I mean, I don't know. But I like those. a lot better. And with the way that I invest in stocks, I'm not just buying individual stocks. I'm doing options and selling puts, covered calls, putting a premium into indexes, and I'm getting exposure to all of that, right? Whether I'm right or wrong. Now, I did want to talk about Grab since you asked. Evan asked about Grab. Let me fix this. Why does this shit look so bad? Hold on, y'all. Because I don't like the way that looks. By the way, I'm having so much fun with the streaming stuff, bro. In case y'all haven't noticed. I'm loving the streaming stuff. All right, so Grab, it's out of what, Malaysia, the Southeast Asia. And I looked at the financials, and the financials look like it's the start of something amazing. Maybe too early, maybe way too early. It's at $5 a share, but honestly, like this is a type of stock. Again, you put $1,000 in, and maybe in 10 years it's 50 grand. You know, like you could get a 50x with this. But you know, it's the revenues are growing every year. It's a new company. It's only 5-6 years old, right? But it has seen hella growth, right? If we look at it quarterly, it continues to grow as well. If we look at the EBITDA, it's about to be break even. It positive free cash flow. The company's profitable now. It's barely profitable, but it's profitable now. Okay. If we look at this by quarter, you can see that's where it's starting to be profitable. Now, this is a little scary because free cash flow is dropping. Must mean they're investing their money. But EBITDA is growing. Net income is growing. Has very little debt and a lot of cash. It's raising shares because it's growth. It's a growth stock. Good return on investment capital. But it's highly dependent on macroeconomic conditions, it says. Hold on. And so, you know, it's just early for me. And then, again, opportunity cost, but it looks like a great stock. Let's take a look at, I was looking at something here. Yeah. So, profitability, it's approaching, or it's trying to maintain it. There's deepening fintech and AI integration. So there's a lot of AI, and I think that's what a lot of people are excited about. They partnered with OpenAI and Anthropic. And that's going to supposedly keep them ahead of regional rivals. Does that mean that the C not have, because that's one of their biggest rivals, right? It's C that are similar. Like, let's keep reading. Let's keep reading this though. If I compare it to C Limited, they're doing $4 billion. Grab's doing $700 million in revenues. So there's definitely companies that are profitable in Asia, maybe not the same exact market, but Grab's strategic outlook continues to focus on expanding its super app ecosystem. That's something you can't do in America. You can't have a super apps, apparently. I could be wrong. But I would think Meta's kind of a super app, right? Amazon's kind of a super app. Integrating services like ride hailing, food delivery, and digital financial services. The company is also exploring strategic partnerships and potential acquisitions to strengthen its market position. Okay, and that's something that I think C's already doing. C is investing in AI integration and expanding its digital financial services to sustain growth across its platforms. But it said that it doesn't have the scalability as C. Yeah, C's in Singapore as well. So Grab's in Singapore, C's in Singapore, or they're at least from those countries. So Grab has a moderate moat, strong brand, super app ecosystem, localized logistics, and fintech reach. C has a strong moat with gaming, fintech, e-com, and wide network. So that's a real super app right there. C going crazy. So the bears, though, they think it has limited scale versus giants like C. It has low margins in delivery and ride-hailing could pressure long-term profits. It has execution risks as it expands into financial services. And it has geographic exposure to volatile political, economic environments because I think it operates a bunch in Malaysia. But I thought Malaysia was doing well. So the reason why it has less scalability than C Limited Grab is because Grab is a super app rooted in services, ride-hailing, delivery, fintech. C is a platform rooted in digital products, shopping, e-commerce, gaming, C money. Scaling digital products, margin heavy. Scaling services, operations heavy. So why the hell did you mention C as a damn competitor? You damn fool. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, if I didn't have my own, if it suits your investing style, go for it. But I'm not interested. And I might miss the boat here. But let me see. How is Grab utilizing? They might be utilizing AI on a whole nother level. I need to learn that. AI Merchant Assistant, powered by OpenAI and Anthropic, helps small businesses understand their sales performance, customer behavior, and promotion results via conversational AI. That's cool. It gives merchants automated insights like, your lunch orders are 20% lower than last week. Want to launch a promo? That's cool. AI Driver Companion, personalized recommendations, fraud detection and risk scoring, operational efficiency and cost optimization, predicts delivery times, driver dispatching, and food preparation to optimize logistics. AI is behind dynamic pricing in certain markets, content moderation and chatbot support. Strategic positioning. Unlike C, which keeps AI behind the scenes, Grab is marketing its AI capability. Yeah, and that's hot. Grab is branding itself as an AI-powered super app for South. Ooh, that is cool. And what's next? AI will likely expand into driver performance coaching, supply chain forecasting, and embedded finance. Grab might launch AI developer tools or white-labeled analytics for SME partners in the future. Their goal seems to be creating an AI-first platform for merchants. Oh, I see. Now I get it, brother. Now I'm starting to get it, brother. All right, might as well go down this rabbit hole. Let's check out Grab. I need something very recent. That's too long a video. I'm trying to find something short, man. Oh, people showing how they use Grab every day. Oh no, a day in the headquarters. You got employees showing their offices and stuff. Their R&D. That's pretty cool, man. But could that be how they're getting so many investors? All right, this was 7 months ago. Might as well just watch this one.
In a China shop type. So I would run around very high energy. I tried pushing the boundaries a lot.
This is Anthony Tan, co-founder and CEO of Grab. If you've ever had to hail a ride in Southeast Asia, chances are it was through Grab. But this is more than the region's Uber. Grab has become a super app that's listed on the NASDAQ. The company has built itself into the very infrastructure.
It's on the NASDAQ. You know what? Hey, Evan, we might be early. We might be over here with it. Hold on, let me show you. Keep watching this. I'll tell you what I'm talking about in just a bit.
Of 8 major Southeast Asian countries, providing day-to-day services to over 35 million users and a source of income to more than 30 data. It's become a super app that's listed on the NASDAQ. The company has built itself into the very infrastructure of 8 major Southeast Asian countries, providing day-to-day services to over 35 million users and a source of income to more than 13 million drivers and merchants as of 2023.
If you ask me, providing 13 million gig jobs is probably the largest job impact and poverty alleviation on a grand scale in 750 cities. That's what I would say makes us all really happy. Our calling is one that continues to be very, very clear. How do we make sure nobody's left behind?
Grab's latest push has been in artificial intelligence. So, to learn more, I've come to the company's global headquarters to hear from Anthony Tan himself. Hello. Hi, Anthony.
Welcome.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
It's 5-star treatment today.
It better be, right?
So how often do you drive for Grab?
Not that often. I mean, I wish I could drive a lot more. And the learnings, like in certain buildings, the security treats you like real second-grade citizens. It really feels awful. And that's when you really have a much better appreciation of the everyday pains they go through. Do I get 5 stars?
5 stars.
And tip, yeah. Good, generous customer.
Life advice
I know.
with Anthony Tan.
Exactly.
There are 3 numbers to look out for in Grab's story. 25,000. The Grab seed money Anthony won from a startup contest at Harvard Business School. 2.15 million. Grab's first institutional investment in June 2013. And 2.36 billion. The amount Grab brought in 2023. This is Founder Effect. Anthony grew up as the youngest son in one of Malaysia's wealthiest families. His grandfather founded Tan Chong Motor, one of the biggest automobile distributors in the Southeast Asian nation. But Anthony's claim to fame came decades later.
I've seen how my parents worked really, really hard, non-stop. My father used to remind me, your grandfather beat this into our head.
All right, it's a great story, but I'm trying to see what makes this company unique, brother.
Business plan at a startup contest called the HBS New Venture Competition.
Great story.
And then we microfinanced it to our drivers. There were times when we nearly ran out of funding. So I am grateful that people took bets.
Grab's journey has been far from easy. The company has faced strong competition along the way, including from the likes of US-based ride-hailing giants Uber.
If you looked at those odds, it looked like we would get crushed by them. And I told Dara when I first met him, I respect you and I respect the company, but iron sharpened iron, you guys pushed us real hard. And we pushed back real hard.
In 2018, Uber agreed to sell its Southeast Asia business to Grab in exchange for a 27.5% stake in the company. As part of the deal, Uber CEO joined Grab's board of directors.
It was a tear-shed moment for all Grabbers. It was going to be announced at 10 a.m. We didn't even...
Y'all didn't even know stuff like that goes down. Like, I'm in the barbering industry, and conversations like that happens all the time, bro. There's more collaboration. There's more merging at the highest level of competition than there is at the lowest. At the lowest, it's crab in a barrel. At the highest, it can be that, but a lot of times that mentality sees its way out, right? It's the people who collaborate, who work together. And you notice it with Apple and Samsung until they started, wilding out and being a conflict of interest, being their own a competitor to their customer. That changed things, right? and not for the better for Samsung, for the worse. But, you know, collaboration rises tides, bro. It's rising tides.
No, the deal was going to happen at 6 a.m. We were still negotiating till like 2 hours before the press announcement.
Cool, man.
I remember when it signed and the deal got closed, many of us in the meeting room like literally fell to our knees. We were just like, I can't believe this is happening moment.
This deal established Grab's dominance in the
cool.
region, a dominance it still holds today.
It's been all about this ecosystem mindset. That's what
So look, if I just went with what ChatGPT said, I would think there's no moat. I would think there was a lot of competition, but let's be real. Their biggest competition that could have been is Uber. We found out later that that C company wasn't even like a direct competitive person. They were comparable as a tech company, but they're not competitors. They're both super apps, sure, but they're different services. So you can't just go by what AI tells you. You know, that's why right now, especially right now, the critical thinking is important. And so I almost shut this down, but I'm actually liking it. I might actually put $1,000 on this stock. Nothing crazy, but what if one day it looks like Uber, right? They literally are owned by Uber. So Uber is not going to be a competitor no more. And Uber has interest in them now and part of their board. So, I mean, who's a better teammate to have than Uber amongst the competition?
Differentiates us, right? Understanding what is their problem. If you look at when we first started, it was to solve the safety problem. Then there were many attempts to hurt our drivers and steal money from them. Then we said, no, let's digitize their money. And that's why we created GrabPay. We said, look, drivers during off-peak hours from work time or school time, they didn't have much to do. So we said, how do we give them more utilization, more jobs so that they can earn more money? And we realized Grab Food was perfect in between your coming to work and leaving work. During the times of quarantine, we said, wow, people really need their groceries, and we launched Grab Mart. People may say, hey, Anthony, you're just serving a niche. Well, it's a big niche that has a very poorly underserved market.
In December 2021, Grab made history after going public in the US in what was at the time the world's largest SPAC deal. Did you ever anticipate that Grab would become as big as it is today?
I literally just had this conversation with my mom last night. We didn't. None of us did.
It's worth 20 billion.
We were happy to be a 100 million ringgit company.
Currently, Grab is zeroed in on AI. The company is set to launch a new voice assistant feature in 2024 designed with visually impaired users in mind.
It is a major shift from web to mobile. So one, it's really getting our own folks leveling up in this new way of working, this complete change in customer experiences. Second is then seeing how it's forming and recreating total new solutions that customers has never seen before.
If you could go back and talk to a younger version of yourself, what advice would you give him?
It's gonna be really hard. Honestly, maybe it was ignorance is bliss. And if I knew it was gonna be so hard, I'm not sure if I would have done it. But is it extremely rewarding? Look, I got the longer end of the stick, so yes, I would have done it again. But there are many who weren't as blessed. If you're ever to start again, or you're starting for the first time, be very clear. Like, it has to be your life calling. I really mean it. If you don't do it. Because so many fail. It's cool. That hard.
And lastly, this is more of a personal question, but how does your dad feel now that Grab's become so massive?
Well, the reality is...
All right. Good for him, man. Good for the story. I like Grab. I got to do some more research on it, though. I'm not completely sold, but this would require me to go out of my current strategy, which I won't do. But I might buy $1,000 worth of shares for my son or for my daughter, because long term, if that turns into 50 grand in 10 years, well, for them, it's absolutely worth it. So I'll probably do it for my kids, Iris. Guys, that's it for me tonight, man. I appreciate y'all hanging out with me for a couple hours. I will see y'all again probably sometime tomorrow, probably earlier rather than later. So yeah, let me finish reading these comments. The rumors that they are going to acquire their biggest competitor with the $6 billion they have. Ah, I see. Yeah, they trying to go crazy because honestly, their financials look like it's about to skyrocket. And if they have $6 billion in cash and no debt, they can acquire that, own the entire market. And right now they're profitable. They got, $775 billion in free cash flow. If this continues to grow, is the company they're acquiring profitable? Do you know what the name of the company is? That would be a detail that I would want to know. So what company is, this is why AI is a game changer. Just what company is Grab? Because I would never read a paper, go find articles, do a deep search like that for this information. But since it's convenient, I'll do it. Rumored to be acquiring. Yeah, here it is. Grab Holdings is reportedly in advanced discussions to acquire its Indonesian rival GoTo Group in a deal potentially valued at around $7 billion. This move aims to consolidate Grab's position in Southeast Asia's ride-hailing and food delivery markets. That's crazy. Now let's see, is GoTo Group profitable? All right, so let's take a look at it. And it says here, as of 2025, has significant strides towards profitability. In 2024, the company reported adjusted EBITDA of $23 million, making its first annual profit on this metric. So it is profitable, not by much, but it's on a up trajectory together, and they eat up all of the. There's a lot of growth potential here. This is definitely a 5-year play, though. But for my kids, I like it. I'll probably buy 1,000. I'll probably buy $1,000 worth of shares in each of their IRAs. And if the fundamentals start to get better, we'll buy more because we're so early. Buy, 1,000 a year. Might turn into 300,000 in 10 years if we're lucky. I don't think so, but if we're lucky. All right, guys. Thanks again for hanging out. Jello Stacks, bro. I just be on here just trying to learn, trying to grow. I'm investing. I'm learning about the world. I'm being more present. And barbershop talk now. A lot of y'all are barbers that follow me. Y'all gonna be in the shop. With a lot of shit to talk about. All right, good night.